We are virgins no longer.
So a little fun fact about Greece.
In a boat, we're Americans. We're going to spend money. And at the risk of sounding morbid,
The oldest travel influencers on the podcast scene at some point here. So Chuck and I are happy to take your calls. Well, if I had a secretary, we're separate but equal. Someone has to like me best. Enough money and time, you can do anything you want in this world.
the man, the myth, and legend.
I got a Volvo.
Not a political statement.
Travel like something is potentially going wrong. Extra underwear. You can't wear shorts everywhere.
Chuck decides to move to France.
Well, first of all, let's just say this. Everybody get your passports. Who's coming? I'll fight you.
I'm not trying to be funny. They speak the language.
Today's my last day. We're just going to shut down right here.
We spent 4 days of the cruise in our cabins dying.
And if you're sick, don't travel. Ever handsome, ever friendly, ever wonderful. It's not that I don't like children.
She's very picky about everything but her men.
I do believe I proclaimed for the spirit that day. I don't wear pajamas.
And last week on Life in the Baggage Claim.
Hey, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to Life in the Baggage Claim. If you're here, you've made it through our 4-part miniseries and all the other insanity we've been throwing at you for the podcast. And today we are very excited, my esteemed co-host Chuck and I, to bring you a very special guest. His name is Andrew Tansil, and he runs a very special healing retreat center. And we're going to let him tell you a little bit about that. Meanwhile, Chuck, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Jim. How's everything?
It's Texas. It's as Texas as Texas can be.
Fair enough.
In this world that we live in these days. And Andrew, how are you doing today?
Excellent. Thanks for having me on, you guys.
Excellent. So really looking forward to hearing about what you are doing today, because I think the work you're doing is amazing. So let's have you talk about what you do, why you're here, and what we're going to cover today.
Absolutely. So, I started a wellness retreat down here in Mexico about 4 years ago after using plant medicine to help with my mental health. It did what, about 10 years and a couple $100,000 worth of, therapy, hospital bills, medication, coaches, just the whole gamut of like Western, mental health treatment, was supposed to do in like a 3-week period. And so I kind of became a believer in like the therapeutic use of plant medicines, specifically like mushrooms and DMT and also Ibogaine. And so that inspired me to launch a retreat and do this like kind of full speed ahead and offer these types of treatments to like, the hundreds of other thousands of people that are just like me, struggling with mental health, probably burnt out, stress, daily anxiety and stuff like that in the States, and basically give people the same result that I got, which is happiness and peace and like a better quality of life, essentially.
Yeah, there's no doubt. You see these things on Facebook right now a lot, right? Get some ketamine, get some mushrooms. It'll help you make your life better. And I think there's a lot out there to be said about these drugs that have become Schedule 1 that shouldn't be Schedule 1 because we never really understood the potential impacts of them. I'm a huge fan of anything that helps you look into your mind and get a better sense of who you are. And those who are listening who know me are going to laugh at that statement just because they know I've done my fair of psychedelics as well. But I think it's really awesome to see it applied in this therapeutic setting. Could you talk us through what a retreat would look like if you were to go? And if one of our listeners says, "Hey, I think I want to go do this," what do they do? What's the experience like?
Yeah, 100%. So the retreat is a very intentional container. And so we do a lot of onboarding, qualification, a lot of training before you come to the retreat, where you're going to change your diet. You're going to learn essentially what a retreat is. You're going to learn how to prepare yourself mentally, physically, spiritually for the whole experience. And so we've got a course basically to walk through the whole process leading up to the retreat. And then once you get here, it's a really beautiful villa that we're at. We private transportation with security brings you from the airport. And, basically we hand you a mocktail once you get here. We do a massage, a site tour, and an opening ceremony where everybody like meets and greets essentially with each other, like shares their intention for the week. And then after that, we dive right in with hypnotherapy and a great dinner and sort of get the whole process started. And the whole program is essentially a wellness program with therapeutic program with plant medicine done with like medical supervision, essentially. So it's really kind of a great hospitality, great like luxury resort type experience mixed with a really intentional plant medicine experience with a lot of clinical staff, therapeutic staff to help you really integrate the experience, get the most value, and really get positive results out of out of plant medicine and improving your state of mind, state of being, and overall quality of life.
So, Andrew, one of the things I love about your program, and one of the things that really makes it sound so great to me, is that you have the full approach. You talk about body, spirit, soul, kind of food, what you ingest, what you do, how you approach things, where your mind's at, how your body is. All of that with supervision, I think, is just the winning combination. I can't say enough how excited I am to see people doing this kind of thing, because folks are afraid to try stuff if they don't understand it. Often these things like psychedelics are painted in very bad lights, and they're not bad things. And I think, with proper supervision, getting your mind and body in the right place, these things are hugely helpful in maybe untangling a knot in your head, right? That you don't know how to get around. Chuck, what do you think? How does this interest you? You ready to go check out one of these things?
And I think Jim's putting me on the spot because I'm one of the few people you'll ever meet who's never tried any drug. I just haven't. It's not a prudent thing. It's no problem. I have been reading about, I'm fascinated by ayahuasca. I don't know, do you use ayahuasca? Are you familiar with that? I mean, is that part of your regimen, or how do you feel
Yeah.
about that?
Yeah, we actually started in ayahuasca, and most of our clients are first time, users of psychedelics. And so that's kind of the sweet spot of our dish. It's really really well built, like all the, basically essential parts of security, and then some are like built up around this experience. And so that's typically the people we find, the people that want to go do this in the jungle and get a dart in the neck from a shaman and, throw up for 12 hours straight, like on a dirt floor or something. Those aren't the people that typically find us, if that makes sense. And so
Sounds like a lovely holiday.
yeah, well, I mean, I've done stuff like that, and it kind of helped me understand, because I did stuff like that and I didn't get really positive results. And so when I did this in a like more curated way, I really didn't know that psychedelics could heal your mental health in such a fast period of time. And I've seen a ton of other people do this since, and so that really inspired me to like build a program that increases the probability of results, like with a scientific level of accuracy. Like over 80% of the people that go through this realize like more than like what their intention was at their experience here. So that's like my, scientific mind just kind of like activating around like what really creates positive results for people. And this is the outcome of it. And so, to answer your question, we did do ayahuasca like in the early days. And it's a very difficult experience compared to mushrooms. There's a lot of preparation. You need more than one full dose, and that typically takes more than like multiple days. And a lot of that is purging. A lot of that is, just a more painful experience. And not everybody sort of crosses that finish line just based on their own physiology, how prepared they are, like what stuff they have to go through. And so is a lower probability of, someone having a spiritual experience, a life-changing permanent change. And it's also much more difficult, and a lot less people are qualified for it. So, you know, if, you know, with mushrooms, it's a completely non-lethal medicine. Really takes like one macrodose to, have a profound experience. And it's just much safer and it's much more comfortable. You're not doing a lot of purging. You basically like go through your emotions, go through the stuff that you have to process, and then usually have a breakthrough on the other side. And it's a lot more predictable and safer. And so that's like the reason we chose that path, because it's like you get a similar outcome with a lot less heavy lifting, if that makes sense. That's what we
Absolutely.
ultimately chose.
Fair enough. Great explanation.
I'm,
Thank you.
yeah, I'm going to overshare as I always do. But, my experimenting came at a time in my life where I went to Burning Man. And many people know Burning Man is
Yeah.
sort of that hippie
Yeah.
drug culture, right? Being a San Franciscan, it fit me very well. And it was at Burning Man. It was actually just prior to Burning Man where I had my first psychedelic experience. And part of it was what was amazing to me was having people take me through it, right? So when you do things alone, you have a different experience. When people take you, guide you, are there for you, I think the experience means more and it allows you to be more comfortable. And I think it's amazing what it did for me. It really taught me a lot about myself, my self-sufficiency, what I could get through, And after doing it my first time, I started taking people annually on a trip on the playa just because I wanted them to have that experience, to kind of go through how it helped me and how it bonded me to the people who took me through it, right? So I think there's some of that. You get that people bonding that happens when you're on a journey like that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. That's beautiful. Yeah.
Chuck's going to squirm here because he doesn't know. He doesn't understand, Andrew. He doesn't understand.
I'm laughing at Jim saying, I'm probably going to overshare here.
Like
There's
even
no probably about it, and that's what I love about him. But so, if you don't mind me asking, what would an average? Because I know everything's about money nowadays. What would an average stay cost at your
yeah,
facility?
for sure. Um,
Is there an average stay?
Basically, it's usually between 8 and 12 grand for an experience, and so it's like 8 grand for the mushroom or the couples retreat experience, and then 12 for the Ibogaine experience, which like we have ER doctors, basically like a whole like medical unit for that. Just to like cover all the bases when it comes to like that sort of treatment. Uh,
What was this one? What did you call that? What was the
Ibogaine,
second treatment? What is that?
Ibogaine. Ibogaine comes from a shrub actually in Africa that they harvest the root bark and then extract the ibogaine from the root bark. Is the name of the compound, and it is extremely effective at treating addiction in one single dose. Extremely effective at treating complex PTSD, depression, chronic depression, and like really serious mental health issues and TBI and also a chronic physical pain in a single dose. And so we use it a lot for veterans and a lot of people that have like more complex trauma come down. A lot of people that are addicted to alcohol, opiates, cocaine, like meth, other stimulants come down for treatment to like, basically overcome the addiction and point the direction in a new state of mind and a new lifestyle for themselves. And so it's like over 80% effective at treating addiction for the first 6 months, not having any like use of what really addiction was, and it's super effective at that. And so that's one of the other treatments we do. And yeah, it's really beautiful. It's really profound how it works.
I think that's the part that always surprises me is that there's people always think if you do something, you're going to get addicted, right? That's the way it goes. And I think it's interesting that often the most addictive potential substances don't get addictive when you do them the right way, right? And the fact that you can deliver treatment without promising a life full of using the substance forever, right?
It's fantastic.
Beautiful. Yeah, we just had a veteran come down and he basically served in combat, like, he's a SWAT team guy, just dealt with a lot of stuff in life. And like what happens is you kind of start operating like a shell after you just don't process trauma and that sort of thing. And so, people like that come to this retreat experience and, he tried out again for himself, came out of it and just happy again,
Sweet.
seeing that happen for an adult in their life and after going through therapy and talking to psychologists, like typically people with complex trauma like never have a happy life, they never have a good life, it was based off like their experiences. And Ibogaine has a way of just rebooting someone and reconnecting them with like the joy, the happiness, the love, like all the qualities that like people want to experience continuing in life. And then on top of that, you can build a new life after that. And so that's why it's so helpful with addiction and so helpful with like really remediating the symptoms. Is it sort of does that reboot, handles things at a core level, and just sends you forward in life, and you're able to like kind of live again. And so yeah, that's one of the benefits of Ibogaine. It's just super profound.
I'd never heard of that before. That sounds amazing.
It's a new one to me too. I didn't know that, but now I'm going to do some research.
Yeah, great. There's been
So,
it's still unknown, but it's been a
why
lot
are
of
you
media around it.
laughing, Chuck? Don't embarrass me. I'm sorry, Andrew. He's making fun of me because he's going to say, he knows that if I say research, he thinks I'm going to go out and buy it today and do it. So
Ah,
Did not think that at all.
yeah,
it's like having your brother on a podcast.
Yeah,
I know my source. I'm going to call Andrew and say, hey, buddy, how can I get some?
exactly.
yeah. No, we got a room for you right here.
I think it'd be beautiful to go on these. I think when
Yeah.
life avails itself again for finances that allow, I would totally be down for an experience because I think sometimes that reboot is really important. We find all
Absolutely.
these other ways to reboot our lives, but sometimes we forget about what's upstairs, right? And how to get that back on track.
Well, and Andrew, you look like you're either in really good condition or you're a relatively young guy. When you get old like Jim and I, the trauma and just piles up more and more. So yeah, reset would be a nice thing.
A lot of these resets for sure. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's a way of life. Like we have a woman that like was addicted to alcohol here and chronic anxiety, to basically like have that baseline anxiety. This is what I had too for like 10 years. And she came down, just did Ibogaine and had a really peaceful experience. She says she didn't remember anything. I don't remember anything from my Ibogaine experience either. And she is just like full of joy. She's the first time in her adult life she hasn't experienced anxiety. And she's just super talkative. She's so excited to interact with the world, with herself, with her family. I mean, it's like a permanent change. like seeing someone just like clear the road essentially of, the symptoms that like a lot of people struggle from. So yeah, it's beautiful to see. It's definitely something that yeah, resets are worth it, and it's something that in the United States, like we don't talk about, we don't often do for ourselves. We're all focused on like the next step in our life and that sort of thing. But doing it for yourself and taking that time, it's like a nice pat on the back for all the good work that you've done.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
it's interesting too, you said about being in this country. I had some childhood trauma that I was working through, and I've gone to therapist off and on for years. And and then I went to one about 6 months ago and had this major breakthrough, and I realized that I had, without meaning to, I'd been masking to my therapist for years. And then when, for whatever reason, I guess, right time and all that. And that's why it's so interesting. I think what you do is you can't mask under the influence of a drug. And I mean that honestly, like you have to deal with it because it's there. It's internal versus, I might put on a brave face for you, but if it's inside, it's got to come out. That's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. It has the ability to take you in, like on the inner level. And that's a place where, I mean, I learned this pretty quickly. It's like you can't really heal anybody else, but you can your own truth. And then sharing your own truth, like you can help other people find their truth. And when they find that truth, that's when the healing happens. And so, yeah, just kind of like to say that back to you essentially. Yeah, that when you find that on the inside, you live on it and you live this and more improved life because you had that awareness of, being able to see
Yeah.
who you are. And so
I love
100%.
that. I love the fact that you're not looking to heal people. You're giving the path, the opportunity, the way to find that healing, which I think is so not Western medicine, right? It's like, here's a prescription, go take care of yourself. No, like, let's find out why this is here. Let's help me find the answers versus bandage the problem. And I think that's beautiful.
Yeah.
So tell us, Andrew, if our guests wanted to find a way to reach you, could you tell us a little bit how they reach you and where to
Yeah.
find you?
Yeah, just our website, Side Lead to Wellness Retreat. Also, we're on like every social platform. So, same name.
So, Andrew, tell us, where are you from originally?
I'm from Missouri originally.
And when did you make the decision to go into this and leave Missouri?
Oh, well, so I moved to California and then I was living in California whenever COVID hit. And then they shut the gyms down in California. And that's like non negotiable for me. So I was like, I'm going to leave California. I love California so much. It's such a beautiful, if you guys are from SF. And I love it there, and, it's just California is one of the most beautiful states, and,
Oh, yeah.
but, if I can't work out and it was forest fires, I couldn't run outside, I was like, "I'm going to Mexico." I know that they're gonna let me do whatever I want down there. I took an
Growing
RV
up
and
near Half Moon Bay, I can tell you it's a beautiful place too. I love it.
yeah, yeah.
Many memories.
Well, yeah, it's beautiful, and so I took an RV, drove it down to Mexico, just went to, like, some beach towns until I kinda found one I liked, and like gyms were open, restaurants are open, clubs are open, everything's open. I'm just like, this is great. So like, I ended up, just being like, I'm gonna hunker down here until COVID blows over. 2 years later, I'm still in Mexico,
Sick? Did you ever get COVID?
president. I'm kind of forgetting about my past life essentially, and when I was down here, I'm kind of like stir crazy in a sense. Like I've always got to be doing something, and I had this plant medicine experience and it changed my entire life, in just a matter of days. And I was like, let me build something. It's more of like a test pilot thing, in this like in this environment. And that was this retreat really well that first quarter. And I think it was really good timing, like How to Change Your Mind, the mushroom documentary came out like that next year, just like it just kind of happened like on autopilot after we launched this. And so yeah, that was essentially like how I got from Missouri to Mexico.
So, did you ever get COVID while you were in Mexico?
I don't think so. No.
It's interesting. I only ask that because, of course, we have friends who say none of that was real and it's all fake. And then you hear somebody goes off to a place during COVID and never experiences the problem. And you say to yourself, how
Oh
much
yeah.
was
I
I
mean,
fed, right?
yeah, I don't know.
Chuck, do you have any other questions for Andrew?
No, I'm just fascinated by the whole thing. If nothing else, yeah, I need to do some. I'm like Jim. I need to do some research, but mine will not. Mine will not entail walking to the corner. Mine will actually,
Yet.
looking at you.
Yeah, report, Chuck.
Andrew?
I'm fascinated by all. When Jim told me, so I say that in every episode, but it still makes me giggle. When Jim texted, this has been several months ago, probably 6 months ago. Jim said, I want to do a podcast, and I said, he floated some names, and I said, well, if you need any help, next thing I know, we're doing a podcast. And the next thing that came out of his mouth was, we can have guests. So he mentioned you, and I was just like, okay, I'm not sure how this is going to all work together, but I like what you're doing because we Jim ran this through an AI filter, like I don't know 3 4 months ago, and it said that we were a travel podcast, but we were a self help podcast at the same time, which I kind of get now. That's not what we plan to do, but we're always trying to help folks. We try to help folks get out and see the world. I think you're trying to help folks see themselves.
I think travel is a medicine in itself. It's a pathway to healing in itself. Getting out of your head, learning about people,
Hmm.
recovering parts of yourself. I think it's a big part of travel. So I think it's all in the name of healing.
Absolutely.
Agreed.
Once you experience the world, you have a lot less to hate.
True.
So, Andrew, any questions for us? Anything parting comments you'd like to share?
Yeah, for sure. What made you want to bring on like a wellness retreat like onto the pod?
So, when I saw you on Podmatch, which is where I found you, of course, I saw immediately, I was like, psychedelic treatments. I'm like, oh, wait, this is going to be interesting. And I read through your stuff. I'm like, wow, this is actually a real thing. He's doing it. Like, I've heard a lot, but I
Yeah.
had not seen anything tangible. And I thought, wonder if he'd want to come on and talk about this. And of course, I'm telling Chuck, we're going to have a guy come on and talk about psychedelic retreats. It's going to be amazing. Oh my God. And he's looking at me like, oh my God, this is going to really cause some problems. And when we talked, I really loved meeting you. You're just a down to earth guy, and you present what you're doing, and your subject matter expertise is there. I thought it was great. It fits our whole podcast about life journey, right? Whether it's on a plane to go somewhere, or just the fact that we're always traveling, we're always moving through time and space, right? And finding the next place. I think as we've been, like Chuck said, exploring, it was finding other ways to show people there's journeys in life, there's things you can do, there's opportunities out there. So, and I would love to see your retreat grow. I'd love to see people hear about it and get to it, because I think a lot of people could find some opportunity in feeling well again, and getting healthy and finding ways to fix their lives. So,
Yeah, wellness is the number one growing industry right now, and a lot of people are doing it to travel. So I think it's a good crossover. I think our conversation, like we have a lot of people from like UK come, like Australia, New Zealand, because people are like rethinking what they want to do for themselves instead of like go to like all inclusive resort and black out
get
a bit of
hammered
sweat
and
off for a week
do some
straight.
blow.
Yeah, to say every single day. Hats off for those experiences, but people are really starting to focus more on themselves and more on investing in themselves and investing in positive changes for themselves. And so I think it's like an evolution for humanity. I think it's like essentially an alternative to just doing a resort or a vacation where you kind of leave with like empty pockets and maybe a hangover. Instead, you leave with like a new sense of life, a new sense of being, and you also get like an experience of like another beautiful country, another culture. We get to see Mexican food, you get to go horseback riding, go snorkeling, you get to do all these wonderful experiences at a place like this. And so I think it's something that's like new in culture, something that people are really excited and curious about. And so yeah, I think it's a cool conversation to have, and definitely having a good time talking about it with you guys.
Awesome. It's funny because it almost is a little bit like White Lotus kind of feeling, right? It's that they've had a very similar kind of idea when you think of it, right? I mean, they're
Yeah,
trying to publicize it, but you're a very different experience, obviously. Nobody's dying at your resorts, hopefully. But I think, it's just part of the whole world's openness to seeing what's going on, right? I mean, sorry, maybe it's not the best example, Mr. Longerbeam, but their last episode had a whole bunch of psychedelic treatments, and it's the last season, right? So I just think it's the world is opening up to these things. The schedules on the drugs are changing. The government's finding ways to make some of this in the U.S. available again for treatment. I mean, most of the things we consider bad drugs were used for good reasons at one time, right?
What and it's interesting, Jim and I've had this conversation, sort of, not exactly what I'm getting ready to say, but it close. I feel like COVID well, first of all, COVID was the great equalizer, and by that I mean everybody was affected by COVID one way or the other. Whether you got it or not, the world changed for a year plus. It just did. And I think two kinds of people, and I'm painting with a very wide general brush, but I think two kinds of things people came out of this. The people who got smaller and got tribal, and they're locked into their world, and then the people like us who seeing the world bigger and want to exactly you like explore yourself, explore the world, and get out and realize that I think some of us realize that we don't have a whole lot of time on this big marble, and it's you know live the best life we can. And if that means opening up our minds with, with what you do, or traveling, or, loving your family more, whatever it is, I think that there are a group of people that, exactly what you said, are trying to find more out of life than just the 9 to 5 grind.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
So, folks, if you're listening to us, this is Live in the Baggage Claim. Just as a reminder, we'd like you to ask you to like and subscribe and share our podcast. We have a guest here today, Andrew Tansil, who runs a wellness retreat in Mexico. And we will provide information in the description about his retreat. I mean, we welcome you to give us some feedback, provide comments, let us know what you think about this kind of thing, whether it resonates with you or not, if you're interested or not. And we'll make sure, if you want to talk to Andrew, that we get you hooked up with Andrew, because I think there's some opportunity here. And Andrew, we, of course, want to wish you great success with this venture. I hope it just grows and people understand what it offers. And maybe we'll have you back in a year and say what's going on and what's the new treatments you're offering. Or maybe we'll have come to you by that point.
I'll say Jim and I'll come be greeters for you.
He'll stand out there and go, the plane.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Fantastic.
But yeah, so Andrew, thank you for your time today. Really appreciate it. Really, really amazing stuff. And folks, definitely check him out. It's a great program. And I think if you're seeing this stuff other places in your life, it's worth just being educated. Don't necessarily yay or nay. You don't have to go, but learn about it. Be understanding of it, because it's a big world. We have a lot to learn. We have a lot to open up to. And Andrew's providing a path for people who need it. And there are folks who have a lot to
or
gain.
a friend who could benefit, even if you think you won't, yeah. And everybody needs a little mental help. Everybody.
All right. Well, Chuck, you want to send us a parting word and wrap for the day?
He always does this to me. Yeah, folks, thank you for being here. Those of you who've been with us from the start, we certainly appreciate you. Those catching us for the first time, we're Life in the Baggage Claim. We're essentially a travel podcast, but we have sort of morphed into a exploration podcast, if you will, whether that means physical travel, or, as Andrew deals with, internal mental health travel. It's all sort of the same thing for those who are seeking a better life. So we thank you, Andrew. Again, thank you for coming on. It's been enlightening. I know Jim and I are both going to start doing some Googling after we get off of here, because I'm fascinated by what you do. And we really appreciate you being here. And thank you, folks. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.